let's get caught up on a few other things going on. Republican Congressman Jim Jordan from Ohio suddenly remembers another phone call with then President Donald Trump while the Trump riots were going on January 6th. Now, you might remember that last month, Jim Jordan said he had a phone call with Trump on January 6th. He couldn't remember what they talked about. He couldn't remember whether it was before the riots, during the riots, or after the riots. That's really weird. We now have a new declaration from Jim Jordan, who says to Politico, look, I definitely spoke to the president that day. I don't recall. I know it was more than once. I just don't recall the time. So now he is admitting to at least 2 phone calls on the day of the Trump riots. And it's starting to smell. It's starting to stink like a guy who's just trying to get his story straight for possible future testimony. Now, there's another funny detail here as well. Jim Jordan was asked about Matt Gaetz and whether Matt Gaetz was on that phone call. Was it a so-called 3-way phone call? And Jim Jordan says he'd have to think about it. That's a quote, have to think about it, saying that was a hectic, frenetic day. And he had many different conversations. That's also really weird. You don't remember whether it was just you talking to Trump or whether Matt Gaetz was also on the phone. That's a really strange thing. All of this is adding up to Jim Jordan is an obvious liar. I'll remind you of a couple of the clips. He's been asked this a couple of times. These are almost like instant classic type clips. Here is where Brett Baer was asking him about the phone calls. And he just doesn't make any sense. And you can tell Brett Baer is visibly confused by what's going on. Remember this?
The committee's obviously going to go down a number of different roads about who knew what when, who was talking to coordinators of the protests. Did you talk to the former president that day?
I've talked to the former president umpteen times, thousands. I mean, not thousands
on
times,
January
but countless times. I talked to the president. I never talk about what we talk about.
So here is Jim Jordan first just trying to avoid even saying at all whether this is from July. First, he was like, I just talked to the president. He didn't even want to answer about January 6th, but Brett Baer pressed him.
I just don't think that's appropriate, just like I don't talk about what happens in Republican conferences. So
Sure.
I've talked to the president numerous times. I continue to talk to the president
No,
since
I
he's
mean
left
on
office.
January 6th, Congressman.
Yes, I mean, I've talked to the president. I've talked to the president so many. I can't remember all the days I've talked to him, but I've certainly talked to the president.
Yeah.
Okay, so notice that's 2 attempts, and he still doesn't say on January 6th I spoke to him.
And on that day was... Can you share any of the insight of what he was thinking about that day?
Brett, the people we need to come testify are the people who can testify to the fundamental questions. Why didn't the United States Capitol, the People's House, have an appropriate security posture on that day? And what have we done? Those are the people we need to hear from. That's the information and testimony we need to get. That's what we should focus on. But I don't think that Benny Thompson, the chairman of this committee, said everything's on the table.
So he's off on Benny Thompson. So that started to get weird. And then taking a cue from this, when Jim Jordan appeared on Spectrum News, good for him, the reporter tried to press him on the same stuff. And it was the same type of evasive nonsense.
There's some confusion over what you told Brett Baer on Fox News on Tuesday night. So I want to clear it up. First off, yes or no, did you speak with President Trump on January 6th?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke with the president last week. I speak with the president all the time. I spoke with him on January 6th.
So here, now we have an admission. Okay. In the time between the Brett Baer interview and this one, now Jim Jordan admits, yes, he probably realizes I'm not going to be able to avoid answering this. I will concede that we spoke on that day.
I talk with President Trump all the time, and that's I don't think that's unusual. I would expect members of Congress to talk with the president of the United States when they're trying to get done the things they told the voters in their district to do. I'm actually kind of amazed sometimes that people keep asking this. But of course, I talk to the president all the time. I talk to him, like I said, I talked with him last week.
On January 6th, did you speak with him before, during, or after the Capitol was attacked?
I'd have to go. I spoke with him that day after. I think after. I don't know if I spoke with him in the morning or not. I just don't know.
So this is when we started, there's a couple of possibilities at this point, right? It's like, well, maybe he's alluding to I spoke to him more than once. It was after and before. But the idea that if it was only one phone call, this was like this was a blockbuster event, riots incited by Trump, carried out by Trumpists. You would remember, was the phone call before any of that, meaning we didn't talk about the riots because the riots hadn't happened. If the phone call was during or after, clearly the phone call would mostly be about the riots. It's just not plausible. But this is when we started to think maybe there were 2 phone calls or even more.
I'd have to go back and I mean, I don't know that when those conversations happened, but what I know is I spoke with him all the time. But Taylor, the key here is the people we need to speak to.
Okay. So then he gets back to, we're not even talking to the right people. You shouldn't be talking to me. It shouldn't be about me and Trump. So the word conversations there raised, well, maybe there were multiple calls. And then now Jim Jordan is admitting that there was more than one call. So not exactly a guy who transmits honesty. And if you're wondering, why would he want to hide the facts of when he spoke to Trump? Because if he spoke to Trump during or after the riots, he would have relevant knowledge about Trump's state of mind. The reports are Trump was gleeful about the riots. Publicly, Trump had to pretend that the riots were bad, at least to some degree, even though he still said, I understand, you're great people and I understand why you're upset because the election was stolen. That's why Jim Jordan would not want to concede that he spoke to Trump while the riots were going on or shortly thereafter. So really something else, clearly a dishonest guy, and we'll see what ultimately comes of this. If you've been watching the show, you've probably heard me talk about how much I love my Helix mattress. Well, I was really excited to hear that Helix has launched a new company called Allform, which makes premium, customizable sofas and chairs with the same level of quality and comfort that I expect from these guys. And Allform is one of our sponsors today. They're giving you 20% off at allform.com/Pacman. They actually sent me a couch, which I put in my living room at home. It's now my favorite piece of furniture in the house. It took me just minutes to set it up. It's solidly built. It's huge. It's roomy. It has a modern minimalist design, which I love, but it's also very comfortable. Fabric is soft, clearly very high quality. It has become the focal point of my living room. Their prices are very reasonable. And when you get a new sofa or chair, you get 100 days to decide if you want to keep it. And the best part is everything comes with a lifetime warranty. Stop buying poorly made furniture. Go to customize your own Allform sofa or chair right now and get 20% off your entire order when you get there by going to allform.com/Pacman. I've also put the link right underneath this video.